your partners in this winery?
For sure. I am very lucky. I get to work with my folks. It's very cool. My dad and I are actually the ones who started the winery together. He was making wine in my parents' garage about 15 years ago. I had graduated from college and had moved back to the area and thought it was cool, but also so very strange to be making wine in the garage. And when I say making wine in the garage, most people are thinking like 5-gallon carboys. My dad was making 50-gallon drums.
Wow.
So it was quite the home winemaking operation. And so I started helping out. I thought it was fascinating. And we started taking classes together. We both kind of fell in love with this as an industry. And so after a couple of years, when our wine took over both the garage and the shop, my mom was the one who pushed us to say, you should do something with this or find a new hobby. And so we jumped in full force. Definitely not selling, didn't sell any of that wine. Definitely made like the transition when we became legal. But it very much sparked kind of the vision and the goal for what became Omega Road.
So this is a winery in an industrial area, which has become very, very common, or an urban winery, I guess, as you called it. Is it a little easier from a licensing or permit situation? Is that how that works?
It can be, certainly. There's definitely an ease that comes with an industrial space. Obviously, with less land, there's less external factors to mitigate, shall we say, which is really helpful. From a licensing perspective, at least working with the ABC and the TTB, we didn't have any challenges or difficulties or really any differences that I'm aware of. Even in regards to the city, Livermore as a city is incredibly supportive of what we do as wineries, so they were also incredibly helpful.
For you, was this a career path that you were getting serious about when you were younger, or did you have a totally different direction you were going to go?
Yeah, not a clue.
Yeah.
As with many in winemaking, I've learned. No, I mean, I loved creativity. I loved arts. Fashion was actually a huge passion of mine. I went to college for economics and marketing, so both incredibly helpful, but definitely not at all winemaking or wine business. I did go to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, which is an amazing wine school, but I had no idea that this was even a career option until I had graduated.
Kind of sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It just grabs you.
This might be an obvious question, but the name Omega Road, where did that come from?
Not surprisingly, we started on Omega Road. Our first commercial property that we started making wine out of was on Omega Road. My dad is very practical in a lot of ways, and I, being the more creative-minded one, was trying to think of just the right name that would embody everything that we were and wanted to be and all of that. And he said, well, you think of that, and I'm going to go ahead and file the paperwork. So we put it in as Omega Road, and it has stuck. We haven't changed it since.
And what year did you open up in this space?
In this space, we opened our doors in 2017. We actually just celebrated 7 years in business. 7 years open, I should say. It was Memorial Day weekend, 2017.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, are you from Livermore originally then, or?
The East Bay. Born and raised in the area, grew up maybe 25 minutes from here, but moved out here in 2018. But Livermore is an interesting community.
It really is.
It's very cool how we have incredible restaurants and amazing wine, but it is this balance of agriculture and technology. We have the lab here. We have some larger companies here. So it's a really interesting sort of melting pot that I'm thrilled to be here, and it has felt like home since the very beginning. So,
are you firmly rooted in where you want to be? I know that's a big question, but
it is and it's not. I think no matter what we're doing, for me at least, no matter what I'm doing, what the thing is, as long as it's like part of who I am, that's what matters most. And for me, wine has always been more than what's in the glass.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
I mean, it's it is absolute magic what's in the glass, but it's so much more than that. Yeah. And so for me, it's about building community and helping people connect and helping people find some common ground. And that, like at the heart of Omega Road Winery, that will always continue. So wine, food, activities, events, classes, it doesn't matter. That will always be a part of it.
Tell me about the wines that you make. Well, if you could just kind of walk through some of the varietals you're making here.
Certainly. One of the things my dad and I decided when we got started in this, as we were learning, we would go to other wineries, talk with winemakers, and just to hear some of their stories. And the thing that was very much loud and clear at every place we visited, every winemaker we talked to, was know what you do and why. And for us, that translated into varietals that are a little bit less common. So we have this very eclectic mix of different types of wine and different blends. Our signature white that really is sort of the example of what we do is a Torrontés. It's an Argentinian varietal. Mm-hmm. We access these grapes from a grower in Lodi, really incredible farmer, sustainably and organically farmed, has an incredible crew that he's worked with for decades, so treats his people well, and it embodies everything that's important to us. It's unique, it's interesting, it's a great way of introducing folks to something, other than Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay, which there are incredible versions of those wines, especially here in Livermore, but there's also so many more. And so we love getting to share those with folks. We actually just released a Mencia. It's 100% Mencia Spanish varietal. Absolutely beautiful, a little bit lighter. We have a very cool blend. It's Bordeaux-ish. It is Cab and Petit Verdot, but also some Petit Syrah. We also just released a sparkling Alvarinho.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know if I recall any, and you're doing the traditional name Alvarinho.
Alvarinho. Our grower uses Alvarinho. It's a Portuguese cutting, so we follow through with that. I mentioned Livermore is home to innovative thinking.
Sure, definitely.
We've force carbonated this wine, so we've added the bubbles intentionally with carbonation, some CO2, but trying to do things that are just a little bit of a different flavor, and getting to introduce folks again to things that they may not be familiar with, that may not be very common, and it's been a fun thing to get to share that with our guests.
And you tend to source from all kinds of different places, right?
We do. Because we like sort of experimenting and highlighting some of these less common varietals. They aren't always grown here in Livermore. I mentioned we work with a grower for our Torrontés. They're out in Lodi and Alta Mesa, incredible vineyard, Silva Spoon's vineyard. We do have vineyards that we work with here in Livermore. The Sangiovese vineyard that we work with, female-owned vineyard, really fantastic, small acre and a half or so, but beautiful vines and beautiful grapes. Wente is a big presence here in Livermore, and they also grow. They don't just make beautiful wine, but they also grow beautiful grapes, and so we're thankful that we get to utilize some of those grapes as well.
And I saw Mendocino as well?
We do. We have a couple of wines out of Mendocino. Right now it's our Barbera.
Nice.
It's big and bold and a little chewy, everything you want out of a Barbera. And it was a great, again, small family vineyard that we were able to work with for a couple of years.
Is this a place people can just walk on into? Do they need to make an appointment? How does it work here?
Certainly. Reservations are certainly not required. They do help us out as a team, but they are not required, and we welcome all who come in our doors. We're open Fridays from 3 to 6, and Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 5. And we're thrilled and excited to help you find a new favorite wine, to share our love of wine, or to supply you with a beautiful flight so that you can just sit back and relax.
And who knows, you may meet your future wife, husband,
or
whatever.
There you go.
And most importantly for our listeners to learn about you online, what is your website?
Yes, www.omegaroadwinery.com is our website. You can find out more about us on the site, as well as some of the fun activities and events that we've got going on. We're also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Our handle is Omega Road Winery.
Excellent. It's fun to watch your face when you talk about this. You are clearly passionate, but it's the love you show. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It is an honor and a pleasure to get to not just create these wines, but to share them with people.